Hey, listen, I actually did mute the chat this time so I don't hear myself laughing. Well, watch, I'll probably start doing it now. But what I did do is I had myself still muted in the video down so you couldn't see me. Anyway, it's a casual Monday. I'm here with the Master Bazinga today. And I've been working a couple minutes late because I've been working really hard in the behind the scenes deal, trying to line up the absolute best guests that I can find for the Monday Big Show. And as it stands right now, just ones I can mention, I'm working very hard on Professor Peterson. I'm also working very hard on Not Gay Jared from the Steven Crowder Show. I just got a big yes today. And Tigerson, I see you in the chat. Tigerson is one of the few that knows who it is. Please don't share that with anybody right now. We'll be able to share that real soon, probably tomorrow. I'll do a little promo and then we'll talk about it and gloat a wee bit Wednesday before we get on with the show proper. And I see a Beard Barian. I've been trying to find you and I'm about ready to send this link out to Tigerson. And I would love to send the link out to you also, Beard Barian. But I'm looking, do I have your email or are you on Twitter? Those are the best ways for me to get a hold of you. But before we get going here and I send the link out to anybody else, and what do I mean by anybody else? Of course, I always send the link out to the folks that are the Madcap crew, the regulars on the show. But today, I'm going to read this little bit of Melville. Remember, we're reading from chapter 3. We found Ishmael coming to the Spouter Inn, New Bedford. And he's there trying to get a room. He couldn't get a room, but he could get the half of a dark-complected harpooner's blanket in bed. And he's already told the innkeeper he doesn't want to sleep two to a bed. The innkeeper said, well, I have a bench over here. He tried the bench, but the drafts coming in were terrible. The bench was very uncomfortable and too narrow, and the other bench was too short. The chair was too high. He just could not get comfortable. So he's decided that he's going to go ahead and try his best to spend some time in a harpooner's bed. So I'm just looking for the spot right here. So if you remember, the last thing that I read Monday, or what was it? Friday. Today is Monday. Today's Monday all day long. And remember, Nachi Free, I'll do a little plug here in a second, but Nachi Free is coming on today. We're going to pick this up, and I'm just going to read a little spot of it. So we remember the last thing that I read last Friday was, landlord, I say, what sort of chap is he? Does he often keep such late hours? It was now hard upon 12 o'clock. So it's midnight, and Ishmael desperately wants to get some sleep. So let's see what we can find out about what's going on in his life. The landlord chuckled again with his lean chuckle and seemed to be mightily tickled at something beyond my comprehension. No, he answered. Generally, he's an early bird. Early to bed and early to rise. Yes, he's the bird what catches the worm. But tonight he went out to peddling, you see. And I don't see what on earth keeps him so late, unless maybe he can't sell his head. Can't sell his head? What sort of bamboozling story is this you're telling me? Getting into a towering rage. Do you pretend to say, landlord, that this harpooner is actually engaged this blessed Saturday night, or rather Sunday morning, in peddling his head around town? That's precisely it, said the landlord. And I told him he couldn't sell it here. The market's overstocked. With what? Shouted I. With heads, to be sure. Ain't there too many heads in the world? I tell you what it is, landlord, I said quite calmly. You'd better stop spinning that yarn to me. I'm not green. Maybe a not, taking out a stick and whittling a toothpick, but I'd rather guess you'd be done brown if that air harpooner I hears you slandering his head. I'll break it for you, said I now, flying into a passion again at this unaccountable farrago of the landlord's. It's broke already, said he. Broke, I said. Broke, do you mean? Sartin. And that's the very reason he can't sell it, I guess. Landlord, I said, going up to him as cool as Mount Hecla in a snowstorm. Landlord, stop whittling. And I must understand you. We must understand one another. And that too without delay. I come to your house and want a bed. And you tell me you can only give me half of one. And that the other half belongs to a certain harpooner. And about this harpooner, whom I have not yet seen, you persist in telling me the most mystifying and exasperating stories, tending to beget in me an uncomfortable feeling toward the man whom you design for my bedfellow. A sort of connection, landlord, which is an intimate and confidential one in the highest degree. I now demand I now demand of you to speak out and tell me who and what this harpooner is, and whether I shall be in all respects safe to spend the night with him. And if in the first place, you'll be so good as to unsay that story about selling his head, which, if true, I take to be good evidence that this harpooner is stark mad, and I've no idea of sleeping with a madman. And you, sir, I mean, landlord, you, sir, by trying to induce me to do so knowingly, would thereby render yourself liable to a criminal prosecution. Well, said the landlord, fetching a long breath, that's a pretty long sermon for a chap that rips a little now and then. But be easy, be easy. This here harpooner, I've been telling you, he's just arrived from the South Seas where he bought up a load of balm New Zealand heads, great curios, you know, and he's sold all of them but one. And that one he's trying to sell tonight, because tomorrow's Sunday, and it would do no good to be selling human heads about the street when folks are going to churches. He wanted to last Sunday, but I stopped him just as he was going out of the door with 4 heads strung on a string for all the art like a string of onions. This account cleared up the otherwise unaccountable mystery and showed that the landlord, after all, had no idea of fooling me. But at the same time, what could I think of a harpooner who stayed out of a Saturday night clean into the Holy Sabbath, engaged in such a cannibal business as selling the heads of dead idolaters? And that, folks, is the end of our Herman Melville today. We'll pick this up Wednesday, and I'll just do a little bit of it. And once again, for those coming on, and it's recorded for posterity on other streams, but why does the ogre read Herman Melville before he starts talking trash about the world, about love, life, and everything else? Well, the main reason is I love the story of Moby Dick. A close second is that hearing literature, classical music, these things that take deep thought to comprehend and to understand, it increases the strength of your frontal lobes, it increases synaptic function, cognitive function, and it makes you a smarter person. Will it make you a smarter person just by listening to me read a book for 5 minutes a day? No. But it could whet your appetite. It could cause you to go to your local Barnes and Nobles or whatever bookseller that you have and buy Alexander Dumas' epic tale, The Count of Monte Cristo. It might spark inside of you something a little bit more than your standard 3-chord rock and roll. Maybe you'll want to go out and listen to a little classical music. So listen, folks, there's a couple things I want to cover today. I think I said it earlier. We have a really special guest coming on next Monday, but this Monday, and it's the reason why I'm going to have a couple beers with you folks. I'm about ready to tweet this out, or what do you call it? Message, DM it. I always want to say DP it. We don't want to do that. I'm going to DM it out to Tigerson, and I haven't even looked at the room chat here. Let me do that, because I'd really like to get the Beardbarian on, and I would like to have the Beardbarian on a big show on a Monday. What an interesting fellow. I will get his information and put it in the side chat. His stuff, I'm tell you what, the best things that I find on YouTube are the smallest channels. Now, I'm not saying they're going to stay that way. I'm sure in time, all of the people I mentioned are going to be big if they stick with it. But that said, I mean, some of the best things that I watch, I look down and they've got single-digit views in some cases. In some cases, a little bit more. But I mean, and of course, I watched Sargon of Akkad. He was just on the show. He's great. I mean, he's got some stuff that's got 350, 400,000 views, and it gets thousands and thousands of views a week. But it is amazing to me that the vast majority of really super interesting stuff is happening on small channels. So there you go, Tigerson. This is popping out to you right now. I'm not sure if you want to swing in or if you got anything to say. I'm going to talk a little bit about the French election, possibly. I'm going to look on Drudge. I saw some stuff up there earlier. Trump, I don't know for sure. I'm probably just rambling a little bit. I have a couple things to share with y'all. some things that happened in my life this last weekend right here. Life is such an interesting thing. I often am shocked when I find out that someone has cut their life short in any way. Sorry, I was muted there, wasn't I? Well, anyway, it was probably best that you didn't hear some of the things I just said. But what I was saying is it's amazing to me when someone would cut their life short, when someone would, not just suicide, but when someone would drink themselves to death, work themselves to death, stress themselves to death over life, over children, over troubles. And look at that, folks. It is Casual Monday, so bazinga to all y'all. And that's for you. I can't say who until tomorrow. Thank you so much, young lady, for deciding to come on next Monday. Oh, that might have been too much of a hint. So let me just shut up and get back on track. Anytime someone shortens their life, it doesn't matter to me how. And I just gave you some examples. It's amazing to me because Queen Victoria, one of the most powerful human beings to live in the last 200 years. We have the Victorian age named after her. Wonderful monarch from Britain that has produced some of the best female monarchs that ever lived. I've been watching The Crown, and it's probably a little off, but it gives you a little insight into some things, maybe very theatrical. But check out The Crown on Netflix if you can. So you look at Queen Victoria laying on her deathbed, breathing out her last. Her last words were, "All my possessions, all my possessions for one more moment." Queen Victoria, I echo that a century more later. Everything I have for one more moment. If I was going to go out in 5 minutes, I would give you that guitar on the wall behind me, my Iceman. And I know William would probably be the one that wanted it. And listen, I'll just keep rambling about death and whatnot. Tigerson, how you doing, kid?
I'm good, thanks, man. Just sort of I've been revising all day and it's been really boring, but it's not bad. And just
well, I have something here especially for you as soon as you're ready.
No, yeah, I'm ready.
I don't know how much you'll like this, but let me get my ears on so I don't echo you up right here. But Conscious Caracal sent this to me. And I think most of the crew is taking the day off because we have Nachi free on tonight, and I'm the only one dumb enough to do like back-to-back live streams. So here, let me see if I can screen share this. Let me pop this up. And what it is there are some folks right now, sir. Let me just show it to you so I'm not just talking. It says, British people cannot be indigenous, according to the media. Despite having lived on these islands for over 12,000 years, there's no such thing as an indigenous Briton.
I haven't noticed that many quote-unquote far-right groups using the word indigenous. So, you know, it's more a culture they're defending rather than some sort of indigenous birthright.
No, what they're saying is there's no way that any Briton there today can say that I've come from this island. I mean, I believe that indigenous, I'd have to look up in fact, Caracal's here. I'd have to look up the absolute definition.
We all came from Africa, so anyone who's not from Africa can not say that too then.
And that's arguable. A lot of people say we came from Mesopotamia. But you're right, we all came from one place.
How far back are we going to
exactly, and that negates that entire argument. The fact that then everybody are immigrants.
Well, I would say, Tigerson, we can go far back as you want, but no matter what we do, there'll always be an argument. You know what I mean? They'll always, when you go back in time, someone will always say, like I do, well, you weren't there, and there'll always be an argument. But it's probably true in my mind that we did probably come from the mother continent of Africa. But then if I say that out loud, like I just did, some people will always come in and bust my balls and say, no, it was Mesopotamia and the River Euphrates and the Tigris where they can join.
Well, I'm doing this module at the moment in evolution and human behavior, and there's sort of background information about humans and where they came from, and obviously it's just something there's just so much debate around it that it's very difficult to sort of set it in stone. So yeah, definitely it's just too difficult to make things precise.
Well, and you're so mild-mannered, but that doesn't do anything in your heart when you hear someone say that there are no indigenous Britons?
Well, I don't know, the word indigenous Britain sounds a bit odd. I wouldn't really use it if I was putting forward that sort of argument.
Fair enough. Well, they could also put it this way: there are no true Britons. That's kind of what they're saying. I'm sure they're trying to use a big word to avoid saying it outright like that.
I'd say it's more sort of British society and culture which needs to be respected more than indigenous people, to be honest.
Well, I agree. But who's more indigenous than the insane blue men of the British Isles that stopped Hadrian at Hadrian's Wall? What's more British than that? I don't know what's more indigenous than that.
Well, the most British thing, the thing that should be a true test of whether you're British or not, is if you say sorry all the time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I might be the only one that got that, but yes, I get it.
If you say sorry for literally everything,
it's very British.
It's even because you do get some, even people who are, originally or have generations, first, second generation immigrants from Asia or something, and then they come over to Britain, and it's a true test if they've integrated into British society is if they become massively apologetic for no reason.
Well, I tell you what else. I mean, Britain is a wonderful place, but I can't imagine a bad boy Yardie just beating the fuck out of you and saying, "Sorry, mate." Bam, bam. Sorry, a black eye, and you're like, "Oh, your head's ringing." He's like, "Sorry, mate," and then takes your wallet. And it's like, "Sorry, mate. I really needed this money." It's very British to apologize even for the bad things you do.
It's mostly for people like me who are very sort of, anxious and shy and all that. Just when I'm, I don't know, going to the bank or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you lot are the ones to watch out for, with all due respect.
If I might go to the bank and then they'll give me a pen to write something in, and then I'll borrow the pen for too long, and if like a second too long, and say, "Oh, sorry."
And Sir Sydney's saying that some of us
really trivial like that.
Yeah, Sir Sydney's saying that some of us in Britain have a far stronger historical link to Britain than others. And Sydney, if I know you got to type it, I've offered to have you come on the show, and I know you don't want to come on with us morons, but what do you mean by that, Sydney? If you can tell us a closer tie, what do you mean by that? And he'll answer. I'm just there goes Tigerson. He might come back, Caracal, but I would say too that now that he's gone, and I can say this without him just popping in and being embarrassed. Oh, he's back. Guys like Tigerson are the ones to watch out for. They really are. In my life, the guys that don't say much to you at the bar, and then you think you're going to thump somebody because they're, and then you end up getting your jaw broke or something. But we need reserved people in the world.
I just wouldn't say much at a bar, and that's it. Wouldn't punch anyone. Wouldn't have any surprises.
You don't talk for talking's sake.
That's my job.
No, well, I do like talking to people, and I'm gradually becoming more talkative. But yeah, I wouldn't stay quiet and then punch someone at a bar. It's just bad manners.
Oh man, I have terrible manners then, because that's the first thing I do is I can walk into a bar. I just went to the Thumb of Michigan. I might share some pictures of the windmills and stuff out there, but I stopped at this little bar that was looking over Lake Huron, one of the Great Lakes, and I sat out there and smoked a little thinking weed and walked in the bar. The first thing I did, I seen there's about 10 people at the bar, and I went, "Who owns this shithole?" Everybody turns around. That's the conversation starter every time. And I met some really good blokes there.
Oh.
We had a good time. But so I'm probably rude, is what I'm saying, Tigerson. I like bars, and even if I didn't drink, I would go to the local pub every other day because that's where I get the news.
I really like to compare the bar scene of South Africa, Britain, and America. That would be pretty fucking interesting to make a video where you kind of compare the cultures and the goings on.
I'll do it. I'll next time I go to my local Saturday night knife and gun club, the real pub I go to, where there's like nothing but bad boys and girls in there. I'll film about 15 minutes of it, let y'all see what kind of raucous shit us hillbillies get up to.
You have to come up to come up to a pub and have a regional ale. Best place for that is Yorkshire, which is where I'm at now. Any sort of regional ale is
Okay, let's go
the
visit
best.
Tigerson and we do like a pub crawl.
Oh yeah.
And Caracal, I didn't tell you who's going to be on next Monday, did I?
No, you didn't. But I have a suspicion.
Okay, I'm gonna tweet it to you in the DM, but we're not gonna say anything about it till tomorrow. Okay. I just want you to know you're gonna shit when you see this.
That wasn't the person. It's not the person you told me, Ogre, is it?
Yep.
Or is it someone else?
It's the.
Oh, is it?
I sent you I sent you a thing of that person saying yes.
Oh, that's next Monday then.
Next Monday.
Oh, sick.
And look, I don't want to say too much about it now, not just because I don't want to give away who it is, but also we got Nachi Free coming on tonight, and I'm gonna tell you something. With all due respect to Sargon and Razor Fist and the person coming on next Monday who's just as big as them, two bigger, probably as just as big. Man, our best Dankula. I mean, he was hard to beat, man. And then Nachi Free, I got a chance to talk to him a little bit and probably blew the wad a little bit. We're going to go over some of the same ground. But man, in my humble mind, I go watch Conscious Caracal stuff. He's got some little 1.5 minute videos. And I mean it, Caracal. I was shocked when you said you'd come on and join the madness because I considered you part of the crew. You're very talented. And so I don't always judge in fact, I never judge what somebody is based on, how many people follow them, because Megyn Kelly has millions of people, and she's a moron.
Indeed.
Uh-oh. Am I in trouble? She's a hot moron, though. I'd like to squeeze her tiny little titties like Roger Ailes did. Tune in Tokyo kind of deal. Like,
yeah, sorry that was a bit quiet. I was just rolling a cigarette.
No, in Caracal, I'm combing through our last stuff. I'm actually going to send this to you first. I'm sending it to you right now so that you can see who it is, because I want you to gloat inside like the rest of us, because let's face it, man, you're a lot of the reason why people want to come on this show, whether you know it or not. You're very, again, I already kissed your ass, so I'm not going to do it again. I'm just stoked, dude. When you see this, you're going to be like, Ogre, you old codger, you. How did you do this? And I don't know. I'll be honest. Everybody says, oh, you're so. In fact, Day is Dead told me today, well, you're really good at this, Ogre. I'll tell you the truth, folks. I'd rather be lucky than good. And I consider myself very lucky. I'm not that great.
That's a great outlook.
If you're in
life is the eternal game of increasing the odds.
Oh.
If you think about it,
it is going to blow up.
Everything you do, every choice you make is to try and better your odds to reach a certain goal.
That's what I do. Yes.
It's all a gamble. The entire life is just one big gamble and one odds game.
All right, here it comes, dude. You should be able to figure it out by this, and if not, I'll send you the one where you can see who they are in the text. And look, we can't gloat about this too much. Man, see who that is, right? Tell me, brother. Tell me. We'll talk about it tomorrow. We'll talk about it tomorrow. And all I did was I sent them that picture of me. In fact, I'll screen share it because I'm a little proud. I sent them fairly cool. In fact, no, I can't do that now because then people would know who it was. I sent them a fairly cool tweet, and they followed me.
Are we amongst three that know then?
Pardon me?
Are we amongst three of us that know, or is it just?
No. Right now, it's you are the only one that's not officially part of the crew, though, Tigerson. Even though I kind of consider you part of the crew, but the only other people that know is Britisher, Day is Dead, Amanda Wolfchild, myself, and Caracal.
Sure.
Now I'm keeping it really small until we actually figure out what we're going to do. And let me say something. That's why I'm not mentioning it, because I don't make the final decisions on this. The Britisher is my 50-50 partner in every way on this channel. I would not have this channel. This channel would have 5 people watching it like it did when I met it. There he is right there as I'm gilding the lily for the Britisher. So, and I'm waiting for your okay so I can gloat, but I won't gloat until we decide what we're going to do, bro. That's what I was just saying.
Good evening.
Good evening, brother.
I must ask about that top of yours. Is that an attempt to imitate my uniform?
This is no, but I wore this for you and for some people that I like. It's casual Monday. You know what, Brett? The next
can't
package
go wrong
you get
with
from
Sheldon Cooper.
I always when I buy shirts like this, I get 2, Brett, and I have one that's never been worn. It fits me, so it's got to fit you. It'll be in your next package.
Oh, brilliant. Well, looking actually at what one can see of the top of the head, that looks as if you would be wearing a... No, when you sit down and one can only see the hairstyle, it looks as if you're wearing a campaign T-shirt for Emmanuel Macron.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. No, sir.
Well, that's not his party colours, though, is it?
Well, I mean, what are his
Colours
party
are-
colours? I mean, he's
Colors are England.
socialist nor conservative, is he officially?
I haven't
think he's.
actually checked.
I think he probably hides behind the title of liberal.
I mean,
But
he
of
calls
course he
himself
does all this-
En Marche,
He calls
doesn't he?
himself a
That's the,
centrist. He refers to himself as a centrist.
well, I
Yeah.
mean, that
In what
hair
I've
hides
seen.
a variety of sins. I mean, everyone calls themselves a centrist these days.
The
I
virtue
believe
of the center, yeah.
The first person in recent times to start this game of there is no such thing as right or left was actually Tony Blair.
Oh, really?
I've never thought
Yes,
about it
he
like that.
began.
Blimey.
He came up with
What's
something
that?
which he called the third way.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah,
That just
that
sounds
sounds
sinister.
odd.
Yes, he
That just
liked to
sounds
sort
weird.
of, he liked to sort of give the impression as if he had kind of squared the circle and he was the political genius who had
It sounds
seen the
sounds a
light
bit like
and
some
had.
kind of. That sounds like the sort of thing someone who's proposing a third gender might say.
It reminds me of analysis that Zizek did of the Matrix, and he analyzes the scene where with the two pills, and his answer is, "I want a third pill."
Oh, what would the third pill be? That's an interesting.
I'm gonna look it up now. I can't remember the exact quote.
And what would it do?
Make you go back to sleep and think that you were awake.
Well, that's the blue pill.
Well,
I think I have
the
an
blue
idea.
pill was just to go back to sleep and go into the Matrix, but I guess the other one would be to go back to sleep but know the Matrix existed. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
We're getting off into fairyland. Yeah.
That's what usually.
There was a chain of videos that's gone now. At the beginning, you had Morpheus come out and say, "Hey, if you want to take," and if you picked the red pill, you went on this. I mean, FEMA camps, everything. It was a compilation of different conspiracy. I hate to use that word, but I don't know another one. Conspiracy documentaries, and that is gone. I was almost through about 45, 50 hours, and right before I was in the last maybe 2 hours, it was gone. Can't find any of it anymore. Anybody remember
Okay,
that?
I found the actual quote. The actual quote is, "The choice between the blue or the red pill is not really a choice between illusion and reality. Of course, the Matrix is a machine for fictions, but these are fictions which already structure our reality. If you take away from our reality the symbolic fictions that regulate it, you lose reality itself. I want a third pill. So what is the third pill? Definitely not some kind of transcendental pill which enables a fake fast food religious experience, but a pill which would enable me to perceive not the reality behind the illusion, but the reality in the illusion itself. Our fundamental delusion today is not believing in what is only a fiction. To take fiction seriously, on the contrary, is not taking fiction seriously enough." That's the quote.
It would be like a purple pill then,
Yeah.
because it's.
I don't know,
mixed
Brett. What do you
with
think about all these pills? I think it's incumbent on a human being to not need a pill. By the time if you make it to 30 years old alive, well, you should have a pretty good grip on the world.
Yeah, just think. Sometimes some people are. Sometimes there is a sort of a reality. Sometimes you need to be red pilled, and sometimes you have to be blue pilled. Just kind of find a nice middle ground.
The thing I would
Well, that's-
allude to would sorry, go on.
No, you.
No,
go on.
continue.
Yeah,
No, the thing I would allude to would be what you said before, just before I came on, where you said you'd rather be lucky. And I think in that regard, you have to say, we are where we are when we reach 35, depending on how lucky we were. Because you have to understand that if a lot of stuff basically just landed in your lap, you can very easily believe that you've earned it, which you hear from a lot of very, very successful people, that they actually think that it was their striving, it was their doing, and they don't realize that they're surrounded in this world by lots of geniuses who might not be successful for a variety of reasons.
Chelsea Clinton is a perfect example. Chelsea Clinton is a perfect example. of someone
Does
that
she
just
believe
has her
that she
future.
is- Does she believe that she is extremely gifted? I don't
From
know.
what I've seen, he has quite the ego. But yeah, I think you kind of believe your own hype, but then you lose sight, as you said, of what actually got you where you were, and you
Yeah.
you forget the fact that luck played a role in it, the hand that you were dealt.
Yeah, and as I say, you can basically, you have to understand that a lot of people who might be successful due to the hand they were dealt, they cannot know any different. So
Right.
in a way, their lack of insight is in a way due to their luck.
I've never encountered a celebrity that said that, oh, they are where they are because of luck. They always point to their hard work and their industriousness and
Well, of course they are, because otherwise they
Yeah,
would
no,
be
of course, yeah.
consumed with guilt.
But that would actually
Well,
be
I
a
would
quite
say that-
refreshing take on it.
And without
Yes.
being terribly personal, Britt, I hope that you could say this. I can say this about you for sure. And I hope you could say it about me, that I'm quick to accept praise when praise is due. But I find when it's directed at me that it's very rarely due. And so if I look at it with a clear eye and look at it from outside of myself, use introspection to look back inside of myself from outside, it's very difficult for me to, especially from you, brother, for you to say, well, you're doing very well. Because am I doing very well? Or have I surrounded myself with excellent human beings that lift me up to a higher level?
True, yes. Yeah, but even if you were to be doing well, and it would be all down to your own gifts, you then have to consider that the fact that you ended up with those gifts is also really just sheer luck.
Well, that's true.
Mm.
That's true, because I could say this. When I started playing the drums, if I hadn't had a natural affinity for it, probably wouldn't have stuck with it. And then being bored in the band room and having every guitarist that I ever met going, hey, drummers are stupid, let me show you this lick. You know, I wouldn't. And so everything that I have is an outworking of luck. That's simple as that. And I would rather be lucky than good any day of the week.
But I have to admit, this is probably one of the best timelines out there, the current one that we are a part of.
Amen.
I'm
Now you
enjoying
mean
them.
the timeline and the universe in general, right?
Yeah, just like if you believe in almost in a deterministic, from a deterministic perspective, the current way that things have played out is pretty entertaining to me, and I'm pretty satisfied.
Yeah, I'm getting nervous because at the risk of being of bragging, Brett, I'm going to look it up right now. And this is what keeps me up at night, folks. Some people that are doing what I'm doing right now, what will keep them up at night is wondering, you know, my wife wanted to bust my balls today. So right before she went and seen our 94-year-old grandfather and spent some time with him, she came in and I was showing her this, near in tears and a little worried about how I would have to watch my mouth and be careful of what I said, much more than I have in the past. She looked at me and said, hey, baby, you're going to be famous again. And she used the again because as a preacher and as a musician, I was quasi famous. Everywhere I went in my small state, someone would know me, and that bums me out. But what's got me up nights right now, Britisher? 530,453 minutes, which is equivalent to 1 year and 3 days, have been watched on my channel in the last 27 days. I have an average watch time. I say I, and that's very pompous of me. We, Caracal, Britisher, the people that come on here, have an average watch time of 24 minutes and 42 seconds. And from talking to a lot of people, from Razor, talking to a lot of people, that's unheard of. And it's scaring the shit out of me.
Yes, 24 minutes is an awful long time. I mean, that absolutely dwarfs mine.
Well, and I got to say, though, also, I'm not really fighting you on that because you couldn't really get that kind of average, Brett. I don't think you have enough videos to average 24 minutes. I think if we looked at our overall time and our watch time, you'd be beating me on the percentage. But that said, there's still, holy shit. All I'm saying is, listen, I'm not going to, because in the past, I've mooned people. I'm going to go get a guitar right now and I moon them. I've done some crazy things. And some folks just think I'm crazy. Well, crazy like a fox. I knew that if I did certain things that people would dwindle away and we would go back to our little congregation back when there was like 5 to 10 people watching us on a good day. That said, man, anyway, look, I don't even know how much. I'll let you all talk about this more, but my heart's pounding now because I'm having to make a decision. to let down people that Beer Baron, I'm going to tweet this out to you. Please be kind, and I'm going to tweet this out maybe to the whole crew for 15 minutes of the last hour before I split, because the Britisher and I and Caracal, even though we'd love to stay here and talk a little bit, but we have a really good guest, Nachi Free, coming on, and we got to be fresh. We need to go get showers and brush up and whatnot. So that's it. That's all I'm saying. All of us that are a part of this, I'll need your support. I really will. I need the Britisher support more than anybody else. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm gonna be transparent about that, Brit. I'll be honest. Yeah. Any guest that comes on here has to be approved of by the Britisher and I. It's as simple as that. As much as I love Day is Dead and love Amanda Wolfchild, they're really good to me. But there's only been one human being with me on this from the very beginning, through thick and thin, through big people coming and going and people telling us what they were going to do. And this one human being has always had an even hand, a very mellow way at looking at things, and also an extremely in-depth ability to see someone very briefly and to make a very good character judgment. In fact, Britisher, so far, you have a perfect record of that. There's been many times where I didn't see where things were going, and you've said, "Hey, Ogre, this is going to go this way." And I've even, I've told you,
the word we were just using, lucky.
I'll chalk. You got some luck coming, bro, because you got that lucky coin. But I'll tell you this. For you, man, and take this how you want, but you're more good than lucky, friend. I tell you that. You're pretty good at that judging folks.
Well, I believe you now also have a lucky coin of salts.
I sure do. It's right here, brother. You kidding me?
It made me
it's right here.
It made me
I don't want to, because I know our thing, but you can see that there's some material in there. Oh, it smells like a skunk every time I open it up.
You made me a bit subconscious now. If the British is giving character judgments of us all every now and then.
No, not of all y'all. No, only people that we're gonna be a part of La Cosa Nostra is what I like to call it, because it means our thing. And Caracal's here. I mean, the Britisher, I'm sure he's not. I'll be honest though, he hasn't said a word about you, and I won't say anything about people he has said a word about, because when he's got something to say about somebody, it's usually an in-depth analysis based on what he has seen. And look, I'm done kissing your ass too, Brett. I'm just saying, brother, I'm saying this so everybody can hear it and you can hear it too, because we didn't have a chance to talk in the last couple of days.
On that note,
fucking need you, Brett.
The South African professional golfer Gary Player said, the more I practice, the luckier I get.
That's right. And my martial arts instructor for years used to have a sign on the wall of the dojo that said, "Practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect." So yeah, practice is a good thing. But it all goes back for me personally. And Brett, you can say this about yourself if you want, but I don't. You and I are different people, so vastly different. I go balls deep in something I haven't even checked out first. I don't think you've ever been balls deep in anything you didn't look at for a year. And there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that gets my balls chopped off eventually, right? And you'll probably have yours till the day you die.
Well, I do hope.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you'd love that analogy. That was an excellent chortle. Anyway, I think I cut off an idea of yours. I'm stoked, bro. I'm waiting for you to give me the word. I hope you give it to me tomorrow, either yes or no.
Well, we'll see. First, we'll need to get through Nachi, won't we?
Yeah, you're right. That's a good thing too about today, because you know me, I'd be blabbering on about how fucking cool I am, and it's just not the day for that today, for sure.
Ogre, you better wear a suit for Nachi. You wore a suit for Sargon.
Oh, you got to be kidding me, man! On the day show, it's just casual Monday right now, and I'll be honest, it rained. So you were talking about the rain in South Africa. That we had flooding last night. We were getting an inch an hour for 4 hours straight.
Hectic.
My chickens about floated away on a river, and so now it's cool outside, but it got so wet. It is so humid in here. I've got a fan pointed at me, and it's 65 degrees in here because it's about 135% humidity. But yeah, I'll have my suit on. I'll have it cooler in here, and believe me, there's no one will come on the because I had a stern talking to by a certain friend of mine that mentioned that I won't go out in public without my suit on. I never do. And but I was putting on muscle shirts and pandering to the girls. Maybe that's a little too much too. So I've tried to cut that out. But of course, when we have a good guest on, I wouldn't dream of going to a job interview in a t-shirt and jeans. I went to a job interview when I was 19 to get a part-time job at an oil change place. And I got the job because I went in there in a 3-piece suit, silk handkerchief, matching tie, whole 9 yards. And the guy was like, we're not hiring for managers. I said, no, I'm here for the oil pit. Got the job without even filing. He said, you're hired. Just fill out this application. You can start work whenever you want. I changed out of my suit and put their Fast Eddie's thing on and went to work that day. But anyway, a suit says a lot about a person.
Perceptions run the world.
My mum keeps telling me that I should shave as well as wear a suit for every job interview, but then usually it's the case that I shave and then my interviewer also has a beard, and I'm just like,
don't you shave, Titus.
That's however many weeks effort.
You look just like Sargon of Akkad's little brother. I don't think he wants to share pictures of him, but he did. He was kind enough to share one with me.
Who's Sargon of Akkad's little brother?
You, Tigerson. You look just like him.
Oh, right.
Who is that, man? No, you have the same. I mean, you look just like him. I think he's older than you, so it's fair enough to say you look like him, not vice versa.
I think he's about 40.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw on one of his streams he did where he said which year he was born, and I think
Now I'm name dropping. The next package I get from the Britisher, I'm going to open it up. And it's going to be really artfully done. When I open it, a hand's going to come out and smack me right in the face, and on the hand it'll be like, "Don't brag, ogre."
Yes, I just have to find a strong enough a spring.
Oh, you were working on that. I was just joking. I'm not shocked though. I mean,
and
sometimes all of us need a little wake-up call. Well, folks, do we want to talk about any news today, or we just want to carry on just BSing? I'm fine with BSing. I had some stuff pulled up about South Africa.
The most prominent news this week, and it's pretty lighthearted, was the new white supremacy symbol that we've just been informed on. If everyone's clued
up. I mean, oh man. So tell us about it.
That pretty much took up the entire news cycle this week.
I've seen that before.
In terms of just online news.
I'd seen that before, though, a while ago. I'd seen that floating around Twitter like months ago. But it was because of that person that tweeted it out with Mike Cernovich, whoever that was. I can't remember. But
you don't know who Mike Cernovich is?
No, the person who tweeted the picture of Mike Cernovich doing it at the White House.
Right.
And,
I was watching Base Stickman, and a guy came out from behind, and he was like, and then it put Keck like, come on, white supremacists, man. What they're trying to do, in my opinion, is make every hand signal and anything white supremacist, because the narrative from this group of folks, this insane people, is that white folks are racist. I got bad news for them. I can't be a white supremacist. I'm Jewish. They won't fucking have me. It wouldn't matter what I did. They want to kill me more than black folks. I mean, give me a break.
I think Zero Cool was a bit annoyed that we've already brought up the whole.
I got to give him the thing too. I don't want this to be too huge, but listen, folks, be nice. We don't get a lot of people on that are on today, so let's just all take our turn. I'm going to shut up for a minute. Listen to y'all talk about Keck.
Keck is good. Although I have.
Keck is actually an Egyptian god, is he not?
Yeah, he is, and
yes.
At one point he was portrayed as a frog, and now
that's of course that's why he was picked, because Pepe is a frog. Yeah.
But
and if I understand, he was the god of chaos also.
The only ancient picture of Keke,
which also is pretty
of Keke. What the fuck? Of Keck.
I think you've just created a new meme there, haven't you?
It was just a statue of a frog.
Yeah.
And I don't think it looks very much specifically like Pepe. It just looks like a real frog. I couldn't. Was there like an ancient picture that looked more like Pepe? I can't remember. Because
I have looked, Tigerson, and I can't really find much.
It was a frog that one chose that.
I was researching this because I entered Sargon of Akkad's t-shirt competition, and I was trying to find a picture of Keck, and the only thing I could find was just a picture of a statue of a frog, which looked more like a real frog than a cartoon frog.
That's the one.
Yeah, that one.
I'm presenting it right now.
That looks more like a real frog than specifically.
Okay, could you present me on screen, please?
Yeah, I'm on it right now, brother. Sorry, I'm trying to send this out to Zero Cool. I've got to send it out to a couple people. We got a little bit of time left. There's some folks, man. If I don't send them a link, they think I'm a jerk.
Yeah, that's the one I found, and I tried to translate the symbols on the front of it, but I don't know very many hieroglyphics there.
But that is the real deal right there. That's the real.
That is the real deal.
I'll be dead.
Is that in a museum somewhere? Probably.
Chances are it's somewhere in Cairo, is it?
Yeah, probably.
Must be. I mean, I wouldn't know, but that's pretty groovy that we got that. Oh, and guess what else we got here? Brett, I've asked him, and sometime next month, I really hope to have the Beard Barian on. If you get a chance to look at some of his little blogs, he reads some pretty cool books. It's just an excellent actor. You know what?
All those
Barian,
books those are actually written by me.
Yeah. Oh, you wrote all those.
Oh yeah.
Because I tried to find some of that stuff, and I was wondering, and I didn't. I must have just went through some of your videos and not looked at all the descriptions to see if it said you wrote them. But you know, the Brit, even though he may not like me saying this, he's actually a really good writer too. He writes some stuff. You're good at that. Uh-oh, I give too many compliments. What I mean to say is that it's amazing because I write sermons and I write speeches. And for me, that's easy. When I'm writing about something and I want to make an emotional appeal, or I want to get someone to buy something from me or something like that, it's pretty easy for me to sit down with PowerPoints or whatever I'm doing and make a speech, an extemporaneous speech. But when it comes for time for me to sit down and write a fiction, you know, these things don't exist. I have to create them. I'm not very good at that.
Me too.
It's sort of the tyranny of the blank page, is it?
It is, man. It's the writer's block. It's the tyranny of the white page. Yes. That white supremacy again.
I'm guessing your vocabulary range for writing sermons or speeches or preaching is a bit wider than Shia LaBeouf's.
Well, but I'll tell you, it probably is. But I'll tell you the
the word.
truth. What I learned very quickly is instead of using a lot of big words, I would always write in the beginning. I would write my stuff at a college, first, second year college level, and the composition, the language. But as I got better at what I did, I realized you got to write your sermons at or speeches at about an 8th grade level if you want people to pay attention to it, because they don't want to come to a church or a presentation or I did a lot of wellness seminars. They don't want to come to that if it takes a lot of thought. They want to sit there and they want to get educated but be entertained.
Trump's rallies were so effective.
Yep,
I
8th
think
grade
there was
level.
an article about exactly, they were analyzing the words he used and like the grade level of the words he used, and his fall within that bracket. And what you're saying is absolutely true.
Because I'm going to put the British on the spot again and say that he has an amazing vocabulary. But even in his stuff that he does the week that was, he's wise enough to know that if someone don't understand what you're saying, you're pissing in the wind. Simple as that.
Well, I think it also depends. I mean, you know, they say of Churchill's famous speech, you know, the famous one, "We shall fight them on the beaches." That pretty much all the words are rather short words, and I believe all of them are actually Anglo-Saxon words, except for the word surrender. So because it's believed that basically sort of short words as such contain more punch. So it's not just that they're easier to understand, they are kind of sharper words in that regard. So in sort of purely rhetorical terms, shorter words are more powerful than longer words.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Team that with
In a lot of ways,
alliteration,
it goes
you've got
almost
hypnotism.
that. Sorry, Beer Barian, what was that?
I was just saying, if you team that with some good alliteration, you've got a hypnotizing speech. Short words, alliteration, everybody gets hooked in.
Amen. And I'll tell you, if you wrote that stuff, and I've been fortunate enough to read some things TheBritisher wrote that no one else may or may not ever be able to read. I was impressed with what he did. What I hate is when people use the word had, H-A-D. Like I had gone or I had done this. It is the most overused. What I like is if someone can, like I love Stephen King, I love Dean Koontz, but both of them, they act like I'm stupid by giving me these gigantic explanations for things when all I need to know is the wall is red. I don't need to know that the wall is red and it's got this texture and blah, 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 blah. Talk about it for a paragraph. I like it when someone uses the least amount of words to paint the largest picture. That's impressive.
When Tolkien describes a swamp.
Tolkien, yeah. Or like a slaw. Oh my goodness.
But the had is a tense in its own right. It's the pluperfect tense, isn't it?
Yeah, the plusquamperfect. Yes. So basically, it's the pre-past.
Or is it people? Ogre? Is it just? Or is Ogre gone?
No, I'm here.
Sorry.
I'm just muting myself so I don't keep rambling like I have been.
Yeah. No, well, I forgot what I was going to say now.
Well, we were talking about had
just
is overused.
People using it in the wrong way, using the wrong tense, or just any use of it at all, even though it is sort of
once in a while.
grammar.
Like I would say, I had a bag of stones. That's a good way to use it. But I had gone to the store. I don't even think that's proper English in my mind. That's like Ebonics or something. Anyway, I'm off it. And I'm just saying that I like it. The Britisher, can't say much, but I've read 3 things that he's done. And what he does, and also you, Beer Baron, I've listened to you read about 5 or 6 of your short stories so far. It's great when someone uses easy to understand language and very few words to paint a large picture. I can't say it any better than that. And I hate the word had. Read Zenzer's On Writing Well, a book called Zenzer's On Writing Well. It's about that thick, and man, he's not a very good writer. I've read some of his stuff, but when it comes to telling people how to write, he's actually really good at that. Okay. Yeah, see, that's why I muted myself, because I ramble and I feel like, holy shit, I just killed it. I'm the kind of guy that if I could do this by myself for 2 hours, but then I feel like I F it up every time I open my mouth with people here.
Well, one of the things when it comes to rhetoric, and I know this goes completely off on a tangent, but because we had dead air, I'll just sort of try and take it anywhere, really. And that is, one of the most fascinating things is, I sort of think, the high classical era of Roman history. So we're talking Julius Caesar's time here. Because if you think of it, Rome was actually just one town. So it was 1 million people. That's how many people live there. And then you have to consider that Cicero was deemed to be an exceptional speaker. But so too was Julius Caesar. And so too was Mark Antony. So, you had these people who were capable of haranguing the crowd, who were all of, a kind of Churchillian bent when it came to their ability to speak. And, the only thing I can kind of compare it to would be, the High Renaissance, where you would have people like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci living in a small town like Florence, where you sort of think, how on earth did that work? But to have people of such extraordinary ability to persuade the populace, living within such a small space of each other, must have been an exceptional thing to witness.
It definitely would have been worthwhile watching their arguments and debates, that's for darn sure. You can only have so much charisma after all, right? Butting heads and all that. But,
as I say, one says about Roman court cases and whatever, that it wasn't addressed to the court. Over here, these days when you think of a court trial, you always think of them, your honor and whatever. They always address the court. They address the judge. But when it comes to the Romans, they weren't even... Those lawyers didn't even talk to the jury. They talked to the crowd. They knew that if they won the crowd, they would win everybody else.
Isn't that how politics works?
Sorry?
Isn't that how politics works in general? Is that if you can capture the imagination and the attention of the masses, or the crowd in this case, then you're already halfway there.
True, yes. But what I mean is, if you're talking about a court case in which perhaps a murder is involved, you would think that you would be addressing the jury, or you would be addressing the court. But instead, they just addressed the masses. Because when there was a particularly salacious case, or a particularly big case, particularly murder trials, in the entire Roman populace would be out in the forum and everybody would be listening. And Cicero would not be talking to the judge, he would be talking to the people.
That must have been something incredible to witness. Just if I could go back in time and just stand there and witness just a minor occurrence like that, it would already be an incredible sight.
There were some spectacular court cases, because you have to imagine, for example, that Cicero's first ever major case was a man who was accused of murdering his father. And for that, the punishment was death, but it was a particularly grisly death. But what actually transpired was that this was kind of a political conspiracy, and that people who centered around the dictator who was in charge then, that they had more than likely killed this guy and simply blamed it on the sun. So to basically defend this man was not merely an act of, you know, sort of loyally profession. It was effectively an act of political defiance, because he would basically be taking on the friends of the dictator, and thereby he would be taking on the dictator himself.
Yeah, he's taking on the state.
Precisely. So he basically, here was this young buck of a lawyer standing there knowing that if he could pull this off, he might still be in danger. But if he could pull it off completely, he would actually defeat the dictator whilst standing there on stage. And Cicero being Cicero, of course, he pulled it off. And that would have definitely been something to witness.
And you imagine how they had to do it, Brett, because you even said it. Even now, the lawyers play up to the gallery. And back then, you'd have hecklers that were like, you fool. And there was no, like the speakers behind me. There was none of that. So you had to be forceful, but not sound like you were yelling, or they'd all say, I mean, all of these things, man.
You had to still remain dignified. That was, that was the whole point of all the togas and whatever, to make them look dignified and make them appear dignified and graceful.
In the same sense, I'm just as mystified by the participatory democracy that you saw in Athens, where you have also a forum making decisions that have an impact on their society. And the louder voices usually drummed out the more older, wiser voices. That was a huge issue that they had.
Yeah, and actors and affecting elections goes back at least that far, like they do now with all their trash talk, because you'd have the Greek chorus. And they were they were the main part of the theater. For anybody that doesn't know about Greek theater, you had the Greek chorus. They would be out there acting roles out in the audience, and you'd never know which was which. Those same actors would go out during the democratic process you're talking about, and they would play their roles, so to say, to get their guy in. And anyway, I hate actors. I am an actor sometimes.
I think the person best known for being able to sway the Greek populace in that regard was Pericles, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
well,
yes.
I think he was again a very gifted orator who somehow managed to constantly drag the Greek populace, the Athenian populace along, even when at first they actually arrived at the gathering sort of thinking, I'm not a big fan of this. He would somehow manage to persuade them anyway.
Well, I think a lot of cultures have done this, but in my study of history, the Greeks were the ones that perfected it. I mean, you can go all the way back to Sargon of Akkad if you want, or you can go back to Babylon and look at Nebuchadnezzar, and nobody elected him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they ruled by edict. They did not need to persuade because it was power.
Right. And in the case of Sargon, which what I believe would have been Nimrod, the mighty hunter before God, and there's a lot. In fact, you and I were talking about that one day, Brett, you believe it may have been someone else, but whoever it was, Sargon of Akkad, the righteous ruler of Akkad, took that title. He went in there and said, I'm the man, and if I'm not, you make yourself the man, and no one could. So he became ruler.
It was sort of it's almost a kind of world of Conan the Barbarian, isn't it? Basically, the guy who arrives and by sheer might takes over and then decides, look, I'm in charge now, and I will basically give you law, whether you want it or not.
You got it. And everybody thinks we're going at 4 o'clock. So before everybody dribbles out, Brett, I got to say this. I'm going to send Dank a link tonight. And he gets off work, I believe, midnight our time. And he may pop in tonight. But one way or the other, we're talking about court cases, and he did just DM me. So the two things coming together. I'm not trying to derail anything. But Britisher, you know what this man means to me. And as just a symbol of freedom. I've talked before about how I've been through court stuff that was much smaller than this, and it's sentenced. The worst thing I've ever been for, I could have got 10 days, for drunk in public or some nonsense. And here's this gentleman that's looking at a year's time. And I love you, Tigerson, but if I hear that again and you were right here, I'd stuff it up your ass. Just give us about 10 minutes, and then you can play us a song if you want. So, or whoever's doing it. I'm assuming it's Tigerson because it sounded like a ukulele, and he actually plays pretty well. But I just want to get this out, Tiger. And I want you, you're the other Brit here. You're the other Brit here. So I want, what I'm trying to say is, it's going to be just like you were saying, minus, I don't even think there's going to be a gallery there. There's going to be a prosecutor, there's going to be Dankula, there's going to be his attorney, and there's going to be the judge. And that he don't get to plead, he doesn't get to testify to a group of his peers, all for a bloody joke.
I think we should, I think we can compare this case to a recent thing that happened a couple of months ago. It was Tommy Robinson, who was who was taken to court for having an England flag that said "fuck ISIS" on it, and he was taken to court for doing that in public. And when it got to court, the judge basically said, "What the fuck are you doing here? This is bollocks." So, if we can get, if there are certain judges that are like that, maybe. I don't know if it's directly a very good comparison, but there's a chance that it might just be someone that gets there and just thinks this is bollocks. But then again, it could be the other way, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I very strongly hope that he will basically come upon a judge who has a certain element of common sense and also a certain amount of, how should I say, bloody-mindedness, basically sort of looking at it and going, what is this doing in my courtroom?
Really? I mean, wouldn't you feel that way if you were the judge, Britisher, or Tiger? So you two are English, or British, I should say, to be more fair.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
but would you even hear this case? It seems to me like as soon as the judge seen this, if I was a judge, I don't know, man, I would look at this and I would be like, I'd look at the prosecutor and I'd say, is this a joke? And then when he said no, I'd be like, it's a joke. I'm asking you, is this a joke? And then when he had to say yes, it was a joke.
As Dankula already said, I mean, I remember that that first time we had him on. That was the first time I was ever on a live stream, and I was a stuttering wreck. I remember, but
he did well.
I asked him at the time, is there really a chance that he might walk into a courtroom and the judge might just look at it and go, you don't have anything to answer for? And he said that in the run-up to actually the court date being announced, he has already seen 2 judges. So strictly speaking, at those points, it could already have been thrown out, and it wasn't thrown out. So that does indicate that the kind of the jurisprudence, so to speak, does take this seriously. Whereas the likes of us, we look at it and go, I'm sorry, but what on earth is this about?
Oh, it's breaking my heart. This is the land of Robin Hood. This is the land of King George. This is the land of Wellington. And now a man makes a joke.
It's also the land of Tony Blair and Nicola Sturgeon north of the border.
So Dankula's going to be possibly thrown in jail for doing.
He's looking at a year in jail, mate. That's his strictest fine. But he doesn't know. No one knows.
And is it just for doing a Nazi thing? Something making
Nazi dog salute. He at the beginning of the video, Britisher, if I may explain just a wee bit. At the very beginning of the video, he says, "This is what he said." I'm not going to try the accent. I was going to, but I'd ruin it. I tried my best to think of what would piss my wee girlfriend off the most, because she's Irish and she's really fiery. And this is what I came up with. And then you see him on the couch and he's like, hey, Buddha, gas the Jews. And Buddha's there sleeping and didn't do nothing at first. It shows you the progress. And then eventually, Buddha's sleeping. Little pug dog just snoring. And he's like, Buddha, hey, son, Buddha. And Buddha don't move. And he's like, gas the Jews. As soon as he hears gas, he's like, some stuff. And then it progresses to the point where, and I'm Jewish, I'm fucking laughing, Your Honor. I'm laughing. I ain't pleading to nobody, but I'm laughing, man. I'm laughing. He's brought me so much joy. My grandfather was in Buchenwald, man. Come on, let me laugh about it, please. I don't want to cry about it anymore. I would rather have it. And so then it progresses, and you see the dog there, and he says, I'm sorry, Zero, you know what you pipe up too. Yeah. But and then he says, Kyle. And the dog raises his little bitty paw. My Doberman, who I won't make do it until probably never, out of respect for Dak. I'll probably never do it on camera, just out of respect because he did it. But if I had a hamburger, without even asking her right now, she'd be over here going, because it's freaking hilarious. Let him go. Free Dankula.
I was just going to make a comparison because if he can be, possibly thrown in jail for that, and on universities, well, specifically on my one, it's probably the same with others. They do this thing where they sell posters near the student union sometimes, and they have that one which is a sort of a cartoon party with like a dance floor, and all these communist dictators are sort of all around. So there's like Chairman Mao on some DJ decks, and then there's Karl Marx and Joseph Stalin. And
yeah, I know exactly the
we're
poster
able
you're
to
talking
turn
about.
that into a funny joke that can be, that can be for all to see on a university campus of all places.
Every time this is discussed, I hear Bill Burr saying, "We don't need jokes for stuff that don't hurt us."
Yeah, no shit. If you really honestly want to make fun of the Irish, all you
Zero, what happened? Did you go to Mars? Are you in Mars? Are you there, Zero? Are you there?
That's you. That's you guys. I'm good.
Oh, you're good now. You're better.
Oh, good.
Fucking.
No, you disappeared again, Zero.
Zero, man.
Yeah, this fucking thing.
He's probably off with Doppelganger in another universe. They hang out on Doppelganger's home planet sometimes, I understand.
I'm back on Cybertron with all the other Transformers and shit. Anyway, no, what I was going to say is if you really want to piss off the Irish, all you've got to do is talk about the flag and its colors, and there you go. This whole thing with Dank getting spanked about the Nazi stuff, people need to fucking grow up already. I'm going to tell you something. I went today to finish paying off my last part of my student loan, and I had this little shithead at our local EICCD college mess with me, and he's trying to pass out this Democratic Socialist Antifa stuff, and I grabbed his hand, and I grabbed his wrist really hard, and I said, I don't know where the fuck you think you are. You're in Iowa. You act like you're a goddamn Iowan and don't
Zero,
pull this
I
shit.
don't want to press you, but you're not shitting me. You were at a college in Iowa, and someone was Antifa-ing you with papers.
Yeah, because they said, well, I got a brother that goes to Iowa University. I said, this isn't Iowa University, asshole, and I named the college. And I said, we don't play this bullshit around here. You screw with us. And I went on this little tangent, and I was grabbing his wrist real hard, and he goes, you're hurting me. And I said, well, geez, maybe if you knew how to defend yourself, this wouldn't be a problem. So one of the staff who knows me very well comes over and says, what's going on? And I told him, and they said, well, what the hell is this doing on our campus? Get out of here before I take you to the dean of the school. And they're like, well, I'm sure they'll back me up. And I said, you obviously have no fucking clue how messing with alumni and where money comes from and how
not
that
just
works.
that. How would it be if there was, because a lot of places, I mean, I couldn't stand there and hand out literature for, what is it, the Anti-Defamation League. Someone
can't.
would do the same thing. You can't sit there and proselytize for some insanity on a university. It's just not the place for it.
Well, you can do that at Iowa University all you want. They're a different ball league. But down where we're at in the EICCD district, we have a strict no propaganda policy because people are not there to go for 4 years. They're there for like stuff I've talked about in previous videos. And I basically said to this kid, I said, look, kid, first off, I didn't come in here to be screwed with. Secondly, you invaded my personal space. Thirdly, I'm alumni. Do you really want to screw with me? And he's just like, and he goes, well, you're hurting my wrist. I said, I'm barely touching you. Well,
So he's aggressive to you. Was he aggressive?
Yeah, he was trying to be a little bitch. I'm an Iowa farm boy. Of course we've got a grip. What the fuck? We throw bales of hay for fun if we want.
The laughing over does not necessarily condone physical aggression towards any human being, but does condone self-defense. But listen, give yourself an out. So you're saying that he like bumped you with the paper before actually anything happened, of course.
Oh yeah, I wasn't even 1 foot in the door. And he's like, here, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Get out of my face. He goes, here, you need to read this because of. And then he starts trying to rip on our president, and then I was like, we're done. And so that's basically, I'm rounding about back to Dank. This guy took shit way over the top. Everybody took shit way over the top with Dankula. They're being assholes about it. And if he were to do that here, we'd probably just roll our eyes like, all right, well, he's being a goof. It's a PewDiePie thing all over, except Dank does not have the power that PewDiePie does. And we all know how that turned out.
Dankula doesn't have the audience or the backing.
Exactly.
No, he's starting to get it because the same person that just helped the Britisher out, the same human being that helped me out, I can't believe it, Britisher. I woke up this morning near tears. It's like it's over 6 because somebody even put a thing on my video and was like, I was sick. He said I'm I should look it up and say his name. I'll do it tomorrow or Wednesday. He's like, I'm sub number 667 because I didn't want to hit 666 and get cursed with the mark of the beast. But anyway, that same person helped Dank out. And I'm going to tell you what, if the worst happens, because right now a lot of people I don't think are really looking at it. The Britisher and I have done everything we can do, and I'd say even Sarga and a lot of other people have too. But I've also reached out to other folks that the Britisher and I have coincidentally helped out in the past, and they don't have no interest in fucking Dankula. But I bet when he's big news, oh God forbid too, Dank, if you're watching this, I'm not saying I want it to happen in any way, but I bet if he does 2 days in jail, that's a sentence. Oh, then everybody be coming out of the woodwork, you know. But right now, I'm telling you, nobody gets kicked in the teeth when they're standing on their feet. But when you get a man down like Dankula, and what a man! I can say it every fucking time I speak of it. What a man! He's getting kicked in the teeth, and he's grinning still. I can see him right now. I love the arena. In the arena, I can see him with the dust and the mud and the blood on his face, just standing there, taking it from every angle. Look, and what I want to do is, because I'm going to go here very quickly, folks. So I want to stay on Dankula because we talked about some pretty cool stuff, but it wrapped up in this really good. And I want to put the word out in my small way every chance I get. So Zero, that was excellent. Unless you want to wrap it up.
I just want to wrap this up real quick, and thank you for letting me interject here. It's complete horse garbage. It's complete horse apples what's happening to Dankula. And as I've said on previous things, it's all fun and games until somebody gets hurt or shot. And what's going to happen is when they're done doing what they're doing to him, he's going to come back with a vengeance, and they're going to pay the price because people are like, I don't care about money. That's fine. You don't have to care about money. It's about pride and ego, and that is a worse sting than losing $1,000 in anything. And he's gonna come back, and it's gonna suck for them. And I hope that when it does happen, I'm there to watch with a big old bag of popcorn, laughing my ass off in Iowa, because I will fucking enjoy every minute of it. Dankula, you've got support from Iowa and the USA, at least from where I'm at. Screw everybody else, up the bollocks.
Thank you so much,
and
Zero.
Up the irons.
Thank you, up the arse. Thank you so much, brother. You near moved me to tears. I'm not even joking. But I'm going to go down the line, and I would like each one of you gentlemen, ending with the Britisher and then myself before I sign out, to if there's anything you have to say about Dank, say it. If not about Dank, we'll talk about it Wednesday. Tigerson, what do you think about this whole situation? Words of encouragement or advice, anything? Opinions of the whole?
Yeah, I didn't know much about it until Dankula came on your stream a couple of months ago. Well, not months, weeks, I know. Yeah, I don't really watch his videos that much, but then I saw his This Week in Stupid guest vid, and that was really funny. I really like that. And yeah, it's just so fucked up. I mean, it's similar to Jordan Peterson, because there was the possibility that he could have gone to jail for his thing as well, possibly.
I think there still is.
Still could, yes.
Well, there still
he
is,
won't stop it if they make a law. Anyway, I don't want to cut you off. So, in other words, not even though you didn't follow it too much, you can still stand in solidarity. I mean, I don't want to lead you.
Oh God, yeah, it's just bollocks. It's absolute. It's just a complete fucking waste of time. The waste of the police's time. I mean, they actually forced him out of his house for a fucking, comedy video.
For a joke. Comedy.
Or a fucking joke.
Thanks, Tigerson. I hate to put you on the spot. Oh, go ahead. Continue.
I see there are all these BBC comedies which, make reference to or fun of the KKK or regularly have, satires or parodies of Hitler and whatever. I don't really see what's so on the BBC of all places, on the state-funded, politically correct BBC, stuff like Mitchell and Webb. I don't know. You probably have heard of that, Britisher, but
yes, I'm familiar with them.
They do KKK Hitler stuff all the time in their sketch shows, and it's just like, I just don't get it.
Well, it's probably state approved. And look, I'm gonna roll on unless you're not done. I want to get these other two Tigers. And you know what the problem is, Tiger? You got to come on more, man, because it takes you a minute to start up, but then when you start up, you're getting really good. So wrap up. I don't want to cut you off. Finish right.
I'm really busy at the moment with exams, so
I'm honored to have you on here, son. I really am.
But yeah,
I got to say this before I pass it on. A little light note, Tigerson. I thought it was so cool because I sent Tigerson one of the most famous songs by a gentleman called "All Night Long." And man, I was like, oh, he's gonna love this. And I put love from America, you know, because I'm so cool. I'm an American. I drink beer and eat steak. He sent me back a picture of himself, whole Lionel Richie's 2 really kind of arcane albums. And it was like, yeah, I got that shit. Anyway, I appreciate it, Tigerson. And anytime you come by, I'll be. You're welcome, man.
Great,
You're
great
always welcome on the show.
Shout
So
out to
I'm gonna go to a Beard Burying, and then to Caracal, and then Britt, and I'll wrap it up. Because with Britisher and I've got like an hour and 45 minutes. We got a big guest on. We got to be fresh, wash and brush up, and have our best game together. What do you got to say there, Beard Burying? Anything?
So being a Canadian right now, and I mean with the Jordan Peterson thing, I'm living in a place where free speech and jokes are being regularly really shot against in similar ways that Dankula is facing right now. And frankly, as a colony, I'm worried about our government taking this case as an example when they've already been trying to press charges against people for off-the-cuff comments on Twitter, that sort of thing. And our legal system is so bogged up with people doing these minor meaningless things that genuine criminals are being pushed out of the court system and are not being tried. We have rapists and murderers that aren't going to trial because it's being so delayed by these stupid cases. When you know, only another 60 years ago, we had amazing films like The Great Dictator that were popping up and making these same wonderful jokes. It just bugs the shit out of me. And here I am hoping that this is going to get resolved quickly. It's disgusting what's going on, but hopefully this will serve as an example. And this will never happen again. But if push comes to shove, I fully expect that Dankula and every one of us that are standing by and supporting him will be rising up and making one hell of a stink of it. And trolling, unlike ever seen before, will take over.
Amen to that.
Yeah, it'll become a proper martyr.
Just quickly, there was the Gregory Allen Elliott case a couple of years ago as well, wasn't there?
Yes, there was. And that really kind of destroyed that kid.
That was...
Yeah, Canada's under fire, bro, and they always say what happens there will happen here, but sometimes it's the other way around. And when I hear about blasphemy laws and whatnot, it makes my blood run cold. I just noticed that Jeremy's here, but hi, Jeremy. So, Caracal, you were just about ready to blend into that. I mean, I like this because Tigerson mentioned that he didn't even hear about Dank until he was on my stupid little show with me and the Britisher. We got him on here, and it warms my heart to know that we got him. And so actually we got one more, and just keep it brief, boys, because at 30 past, I'm going to cut it off hard. So Caracal, and then Jeremy, if you have something to say, and then I'm going to pop it to Britt, and anybody else comes on before I take off, that will be the order, and then me, and I'll be off air. So thank you, gentlemen. Go ahead, Caracal.
My question is, if you can't joke about topics within our society, then what's the point of humor at all? Humor is tragedy plus time. It's what we use to deal and talk about things that we usually can't talk about in just general discussion, so we veil it with comedy to kind of soften the blow. Coincidentally, the book I'm currently reading, Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky, he makes a proper point there where he gives he gives hints to of the modern times, where he says that you need to utilize humor to make points that would otherwise be a little blunt or brass without the humor. So then you can use it almost as like a pillow or like a way to soften the blow of the words you're using. It's a coping mechanism that we all use. And I think if we take that away from humanity, we risk being just ability to deal with things that we usually can't talk about, or to deal with the horrible things that have happened in our past and will happen again, most likely.
Man, you know what I always say? It's you said it best. So I won't even try to put a cap on that. If we don't stand up for others, man, it's a slippery slope. So, Jeremy, I think you've been listening to us, and I appreciate you coming on. I just seen you the thing, and I think you can see my email in the side chat. If you feel like it or care to, if you send me an email, it'll be easier for me to get, because I look for you on Twitter. And if I messed it up, just let me know after the thing. We'll talk about it. But what do you think about this whole situation? Is something like this going? Because I think about Charlie Hebdo, and they went up and mowed him down. But France, they let Charlie Hebdo be, and they still, as far as I know, satire is fair game in France. You can mock people all you want.
They're okay. I will answer the Charlie Hebdo, but first I want to be polite to Captain Colpile, and I will answer to them. I will answer to him. Captain Colpile, normally it would take 1 year to repeal that law that prevented Prefect from being fired, but basically the people in the Constitutional Council in France gave an exception to use presidential power to repeal that law immediately when arriving in office. So whoever gets elected, the pro-hunters will have what they want and will have their license renewed.
Okay. Yeah, that was on that hunting thing we talked about. We were taking the guns away the other day.
Yeah.
Do you have any opinion on Dank or anything like that?
Hmm?
Do you have any opinion on the Count Dankula thing?
On the Count Dankula thing, like because he made the jokes that were.
Yeah, he's looking hard at a year right now. Sometime, I don't have the date right down. He just said he may pop in tonight, but I doubt it. I just gave him very little notice. But he'll be on next week, later on in the show, no matter who's on. I don't care who's on. He'll come on, and hopefully we'll have a giant guest, so there'll be a bunch of people watching, and he'll get to tell his story yet again. And if I'm not mistaken, that Monday will be 2 days before he's looking at going to the trial.
Okay, so he's facing potential jail time.
Yeah, for teaching his little pug dog to do a Nazi salute and to jump up whenever he said gas the Jews. Yep, that's it. That's the extent of it. Now, in his own words, he has not been the best boy in his life, but he's never done anything. I mean, I even admitted earlier, no matter what I am now, when I was younger, I liked to fight, fuck, or hold the camera, and I wasn't no good at holding the camera. So it came down to it. I wanted to fight or fuck. That's what I did when I was young. And so, yeah, I've spent the night in jail 20 times. But all minor shit. Now, if I did something that they considered big, which I never have and never will, they would look at that and probably say, now I need time, which they may. You see what I'm saying? They could do that to Dank. And anyway, I'm taking a bunch. I've got like 7 more minutes. So if you got anything to say about Dank, we'll get to that. And then I'll be back Wednesday and then tonight too, John.
Quite frankly, what Dankula is looking at jail time for doing, like, just to teach his pug to make a Nazi salute. Really?
Yes.
Okay, over here in France, we've got some few regulations that are basically limiting your freedom of speech, but it only concerns you for 2 reasons. It only concerns you if you're a pastor, well, you're a man of faith, of any kind of faith, basically, like you are a religious representative, or if you're running for office.
So there's no proselytizing, is what you're saying. Yeah, I mean I don't believe in restriction of free speech, but that said, if it's going to be,
can you France deny the Holocaust without repercussions?
If you are a teacher, or if you are running for office and you're a Holocaust denier, yes, you can be facing some charges.
Okay, so a regular citizen can do it without consequences then.
Yeah, a regular citizen is basically, unless basically he's been hurting you physically after doing Holocaust denial. Basically, Holocaust denial will be an aggravation of something else more serious.
So it's all over the world then, and I'm going to stick right on this, and that was great. I really appreciate the update on the rifles, and I know that France is pretty good about satire with Charlie Hebdo and whatnot, but Britisher, you got like 5 minutes, and I'm going to wrap it up. I know that you got something to say about Dankula if you're there.
Well, I mean, the way I look at it, how should we say, it's kind of a weariness with which I regard this, because, I mean, I've told you before, my background used to be sort of more fighting censorship for years and years, and I was part and parcel of campaigns, trying to convince governments not to introduce certain laws and whatever. And time and again, I mean, even when speaking to an MP, you would face this question, oh, well, is this really such a big issue? And this is where we see how big an issue it eventually becomes. Because it may just be one little step at a time, but eventually this is where this is what you arrive at. Eventually you end up at a point where somebody is suddenly facing prison time for making a joke. And I find this sort of incredibly frustrating inwardly, not merely because this is so terribly unfair towards Dankula, but also because this is something that pretty much for the last 10 years or more I have been warning about, and it was almost impossible to get anybody to listen. The media wasn't interested, the politicians simply just ignored it, and now we are really looking at a world in which people are facing jail time for stupid things. I mean, ridiculous things. I could tell you of other cases that have been brought and whatever that would make your fingernails curl. And Dankula is really just the latest one, and because of of course, this is an internet-based joke, so to speak, it therefore has kind of aroused more interest upon the internet. And one kind of hopes that this might generate a bit of, resistance, a bit of resilience towards this thing, because it might show people just exactly where this nonsense leads. That this is not just a matter of trying to make people be polite. It is, in fact, a matter of locking people up.
Just listening to what you said there, Britt, you could actually make a quite detailed analysis video or about just exact topic.
Oh man, I love all y'all so much. I have my mic muted. We're just going to wrap this up. So just finish that idea, Britt. I love all y'all. We'll be back Wednesday. I got a big night tonight. So let him top that off and we'll roll. Okay. Well, Caracal, then I'll let you do whatever you were going to do. Sorry I cut you off, but I'm not joking. I got to take a shower. I got to get some stuff ready. And I don't want to listen. It don't matter to me how big or little the guest is. I want to give them the same kind of respect and attention that I give anybody.
No, I just wanted to tell Britisher that that's actually has the potential for a pretty interesting and useful video, is if he can cover that exact idea and within the context of the Count Dankula court case, it would actually make a pretty good video, and a video that you can use to inform other people of the dangers that we are facing.
This could be
it's worth a thought, yeah.
It could be a really representative case in future, depending on the result, of course. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a fact. And I guess, Jeremy, if you want to say something, because we got 2 more minutes before I'm actually going to do my top off.
No, I just wanted to ask. So next time you're on is Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday. And I'll do my best. I sent you my email. If you shoot me an email, I'll be able to get it out to you sooner. Cabby must be taking the day off. I didn't send him one out at the beginning of the show. I mean, I'm telling you, there's a few people that come on.
Actually, if we've just got a minute to go, there would be just one thing I would like to add, and that is I've just had a lovely comment on my comments section. I don't know if you've heard, I mentioned Erdogan in Turkey, who's banning TV shows and all sorts of things. And I'm well known for my gags about the colonies. So some chap in Turkey called Hakan has commented, and he said, "I am from Turkey, and a British-managed colony seems like a great idea rather than full independence right now."
I'm looking for that right now. On it must be. Hank. Okay, I'm looking for it. I might screen share if I find it. But you get a lot of comments. I'll tell you that.
Something like that.
How you answer them all is beyond me, mate. You must work 2 hours a day answering comments.
Well, I don't answer them all, but yes, I do like to sort of delve in there once in a while. And
it's actually right here. I'm on the screen share. Do you mind if I screen share your comment section there, Brett? Yeah, it's right here. It says yeah, right there. I'm from Turkey, and a British-managed colony seems like a great idea than full independence right now. That is, so in other words, he's saying flat out he would rather have the British govern them. Am I reading that wrong? That's what
it says quite a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, and they can look. You can look at India. You can look at a lot of places and see what it would be like. Hong Kong. You'd see what it'd be like if the British were ruling it, and they've never done bad. I mean, I'll say this, man, before I do my tag. The British, when it comes to war, are very ruthless people. But that's on the battlefield. If they wound you gravely and you live and they got a hold of you, they're going to give you a tea and a cigarette and a steak and a shot of gin and fix you up real good and give you a comfortable bed. And, they ain't going to torture you or nothing. But on the battlefield, they're hell. I mean, once they conquer someone in history, unless there's a lot of uprisings and they got to actually go back to the battlefield. So remember what I said. Somebody's going to, in the comments or hear this later, and they're going to be like, you said the British were all nice. No, I'm not saying that. If you're battling them, they're going to line up with muskets and shoot you, whether cannonade is coming their way or not. They don't give a shit. And they will usually win in history. They have won. But then they're kind to the people. So, man, what's to say? In the colonies where I live, we're free and independent now. So they say. Doesn't seem that way to me. It seems like it's going to be a Dankula situation here before I know it. But would it be so bad if the British ruled me right now? I don't know. I mean, I look at them. The only thing I would say is the freedom of speech issue is bold across the world, and that does make me nervous. So listen, everybody. Tune in tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have, in my humble estimation, he shouldn't rank anybody. He's going to be a great guest. Come and check out Nachi Free. Wonderful artist. If you do like the little bit of art that I have up whenever I go to take my breaks and whatnot, that was done by Nachi Free. He'd be happy to do you a portrait or anything that you'd like in art, I do imagine, if you'd be willing to shell out the old do-re-mi because he is a professional artist. Just got back this weekend from hosting a 2-day art show. And for me personally, to have folks like this, whether they have 600,000 subscribers on YouTube or 500, it doesn't matter to me. When great people with great talents and great minds give me their extremely valuable time and turn their eyes my way and actually look at an old, greasy, blue-eyed ogre, man, I'm telling you, folks, it fills my heart up so big that it feels like it's going to explode in my chest. I'm humbled today to have Jeremy from France, the conscious Caracal from deep in South Africa, the Beard Barian from the snowy white north of Canada up there, the other America, as some of us hillbillies down here like to think, TheBritisher from England, Tigerson from England, and Zero Cool from Iowa here in America. To me, it's very humbling. And so I don't ramble on anymore. I got to say, be good to your friends, be good to your family members, be good to your loved ones, be quick to say you're sorry. Be even quicker to accept an apology, especially when that thing your friend, your family member, your loved one has done seems to be so huge, you'll never get it out of your mind. Because constant viewers, church, I make an appeal to you. Remember every day, brethren, at a time you think not, your friends, your family members, your loved ones, and all you hold dear will depart from you. Sydney Rough Diamond!